The following is a special presentation of the Decibel Geek Podcast.
Ever get the feeling you've been cheated?
This is the Decibel Geek Podcast with Aaron Camaro and Chris Sinzak.
Mr. President, to call me if you miss me. Gotta leave you and get on with my life. Shooting everybody down, thinking you're so profound. You never listen to no one's advice. You're a liar, liar, liar with your pants on fire. Always going back on your word. Over here, over there, do you really care? Playing games like I never heard. If I knew then what I know now, I'd tell you that the story's true. 'Cause whatever you do, it comes back to you. Right back to you, babe, I'll tell ya.
Welcome back to the show that never says never. This is the Decibel Geek Podcast. My name is Aaron Camaro, joined as always by Chris Sinzak. And man, we're doing something today that we said we weren't going to do. And I know you got a lot on your mind. I know you got a lot on your chest you want to get off. But what do you want to say to just kind of get this started here today?
Well, as you heard the intro music, if I knew then what I know now.
Well, at least we learned our lesson a year ago.
We did. I'll just say it's been solidified in the last couple of days.
Yeah, for sure.
I have a lot of stuff I want to say about the recent developments in the Vinnie Vincent world. But we have an interview we want to get to first with Joe D'Angelo, who was the tireless worker who put him and Andy Moyen put together the KISS Kruise Gathering.
Somebody else who has a lot to get off their chest.
That's right. Joe has some stuff he wants to say as well. We recorded this just about a week ago, and we had Joe on, and we'll get his whole thoughts on the whole process of booking Vinnie and what led up to the gathering in Miami and Vinnie's performance. And then also near the end of the talk, we get into our thoughts about the upcoming Memphis concerts.
Right, because we've got some recent news that we got, but we're going to save that till the very, very end.
Yeah.
So when the whole show is over, we're coming back and we're going to wrap it up with the current news going on with Vinnie Vincent. And I think the thing to remember here is we've done a lot of Vinnie Vincent specials and episodes over the years, and at one time we were probably the most ardent supporters of Vinnie Vincent. But one thing that the Vinnie Vincent specials all had in common, 1 through 6, that brings us right up to today, is that you and we have always talked to people that have had experiences with Vinnie Vincent and wanted to tell their stories about it, and so that's the common thread that ties all these Vinnie Vincent specials together, and that is no different here today.
Right.
And, so here we are.
Yes.
Vinnie Vincent Special number 6.
Yes.
You ready?
Yeah, let's get into it. Here's our talk with Joe D'Angelo.
Now what you gotta do? So you wanna do another solo, huh? Well, not here, pal.
So, Joe D'Angelo, welcome to Decibel Geek.
Thanks for having me, guys. I'm glad to be here.
All right, so with your history, you worked on the KISS Kruise Preparty, which is called the Gathering, and was this the third year you've done that?
I've actually done this for 2 years with Andy. Last year was my first. It was in New Orleans, and that's kind of a hometown for me. I don't live there, but I love it. So I have a background, so I got involved last year.
Gotcha. And and your history with booking events like this and working with rock stars and stuff goes back a ways, correct?
I might be giving away my age, but I've probably been doing this for about 25 to 27 years, something like that.
Wow, cool.
Nice.
And so you've worked with people on all levels of stardom, I'm assuming.
And I've worked with some guys that weren't that big when I worked with them that are now untouchable. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of fun too to see the progression. But everything from local bands to booking national artists.
Right. This year, you had a lot of KISS related guests this year. Lydia Chris and others, and 4 by Fate played, and Well, obviously, let's just get down to it. Vinnie Vincent was basically your marquee guest, and we certainly want to get the scoop, especially as someone who's worked with him myself, on the whole experience, on how it got started, how you made contact, and just let you roll from there.
Well, basically, when last year's party ended in New Orleans, we had such a huge crowd, such a great turnout, such an awesome vibe from everybody. We both knew, Andy and I, that we were going to go right into this year's party. So we just didn't stop. The second we got off the cruise ship, which was November of last year, I was staying in New Orleans. I had basically booked the hangar by the time I was done in New Orleans. So that part of it was good. By the end of December, 4x Fate was pretty much locked up. And they were going to be the headliner. And then, of course, Vinnie comes out in January down in Atlanta, and everybody's fawning over Vinnie Vincent. So it seemed like the logical step for us was to add that attraction, if you will, to the event. So I started reaching out, making some contacts, and one thing led to another. We connected, and we booked him to do the Tuesday meet and greet, which was going to be Tuesday day, like morning, and then at night would be the gathering party. One thing led to another. We decided to add the Monday and have Monday and Tuesday back-to-back days with Vinnie. And it seemed from the start like an excellent idea.
Sure.
You know, unfortunately, things aren't always what they seem. Although I will say the fans had an amazing time. I know that many people had good experiences with him, and you know, he did show up and perform, and although he was definitely not in practice, I think you can tell he doesn't play much these days. And if he does, he's lost a little bit of his chops. He was there, and he was playing, so I give him credit for doing that. And he was in the makeup, too, which I thought was kind of interesting. I wasn't expecting him to wear the makeup on stage, but I think that's the persona he wants to put out there these days anyway, so it worked for him.
So when you were in the lead up to this whole event, I understand that things got a little crazy in the planning. I mean, I'm assuming if it was anything like my experience, basically it seems like smooth sailing early on, things are agreed to, and then things start getting changed. Is that correct? Yeah,
I mean, pretty much that pretty much sums up working with Vinnie. You know, I think, you know, Gene summed it up the best when Gene Simmons, of course, when he said that, you know, Vinnie is the most self-destructive person he's ever met. You know, Vinnie has an opportunity right now at coming off the gathering to completely rebuild his career. I'm convinced of that. Whether or not he does it will remain to be seen.
Yeah, we've been saying that for years. You know, when he did show back up in Atlanta, you know, there wasn't nobody too much more excited about it than Chris and myself, because we've been singing the guy's praises for years. You know, his work with KISS and his work with Vinnie Vincent Invasion, I think, stands alone. You know, musician-wise, the guy is awesome, you know, and we really wanted to see that big comeback and see something great happen for him. And, you know, after Atlanta, it looked like, you know, like you said yourself, people were excited about it, that he was back. And we got swept up into that too, you know, after pulling for the guy for so long, to see it where, okay, now he's actually set up. He could come back. He really could do something. But, you know, it kind of remains to be seen what ends up happening with all of it. But it is sure taking some twists and turns.
You know, it has, and it's unfortunate because they're all his doing, you know, good or bad. He makes his own decisions, and I think what he really needs, to be honest with you, he needs someone like, well, I don't want to say like me because I don't mean me, but someone who does what I do for a living, someone who professionally takes a musician and says, sit down, shut up, do what you're good at, and let me do what I'm good at, and we'll all make money. Like Doc McGee to a KISS, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
Obviously, he's not going to get someone at that caliber, but there are plenty of people like me in my line of work who could take him and help him and put him on a path and make a lot of money with the guy for him and for the person doing it. But I don't think Vinnie will ever allow that to happen. And again, brings it back to the full circle of the, you know, the self-destruction part that Gene had mentioned.
Yeah. And who did you deal with behind the scenes through all the negotiations for all this? Who was the guy kind of running the show for him?
Well, it was Randy Dietrich for the longest time. And then I was under the impression that he kind of wasn't working with Vinnie for a little while, and then he came back. And so for a little while I had to deal with an attorney, and it was just sometimes it was really even hard. I went months without speaking to Vinnie at all, so I had no idea where his head was and what the situation was. Mm-hmm. And then I come to find out, we were under contract for like 5 months, maybe 6 months, and he booked Chiller in New Jersey,
right?
Which I wouldn't care about. I can care less where he does events. It's not going to affect me. My event was sold out, except for the fact that he booked it to run straight through the day before he was supposed to be in Miami, and Chiller was in New Jersey.
Right.
Okay, and he wanted to drive because he doesn't like to fly.
Yeah.
I don't know, if he's got a car from the Jetsons or something where he can, here's my boy Elroy hopping in a floating car and zapping down to Miami in 3 hours, but that's not going to happen in today's world. And that caused a little bit of a rift with me, to be honest with you, because that put a huge monkey wrench or a big question mark on where my event was going to wind up.
Right.
So I'm glad that it did turn out well and that he did make it there. He had to cancel the last day of Chiller to make it happen.
Yeah.
But he did. And, again, the lawyers made sure that things turned out the way they needed to.
Yeah, but you had to employ basically legal muscle to make things run correctly.
You know what? If you're in this business, you have attorneys and you use them when you need them or things don't work. Right. And what happens is you wind up building a bit of a reputation that people know this guy's going to do what he says he's going to do. And if I don't, he's going to come after me.
Right.
And that's pretty much what it is, Yeah. Someone breaches a contract that leaves you, losing money. You have legal recourse to pursue it.
Right.
So absolutely, I'm not afraid to get a lawyer on speed dial.
Yeah. And how does working with him compare to working with other artists you've done these things with?
Well, let me just say I won't work with him again.
Yeah.
I've worked with a lot of artists and I'm particular. When I hire someone, artist or not, and we have a job to do your job.
Right.
When you're done with your job, you get paid, you go home. I have a job to do too. I do my job, I get paid, I go home. And I prefer to work with those type of people.
Right. So when he does finally show up in Miami, I mean, what's the mood like when he gets there?
Well, surprisingly good. I mean, all the people, look, I have to say this about Vinnie, and this is a positive thing. He's great to the fans.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's the people that he works with in business that he doesn't seem to treat the same way.
You are right.
And I truly believe that's a sense of paranoia where he feels everyone's out to get him. And that may be from his past and things that have bothered him over the years, but that wasn't the case with me. And I don't think he ever saw me as anything more than someone who was out to try to rip him off or something like that. So.
Right. Well, let me ask you this. I remembered hearing something about that he was going to do I Love It Loud and All Hell's Breaking Loose, and then he ended up doing I Love It Loud and Lick It Up.
Yeah, well, again, you can't always get what you think you're getting, and we had agreed upon those first two songs, All Hell's Breaking Loose and I Love It Loud.
Yeah.
And then he didn't want to do it. So, even it was agreed upon and advertised, he changed his mind, and then that was the two songs that he said he was going to do. And he did mention, and if you noticed, he also said that, the solos were at his discretion, basically. And he actually didn't do any of the solos. Pat Gasparini from 4x8 took care of that.
Yeah, and he tore it up.
He tore it up, man. He really was good. That guy is just way underrated as a guitar player.
He was great, but I have to say, as people that have admired Vinnie's playing for years, that it was a bit of a strange thing that he wasn't taking solos. Do you have any idea why he wasn't playing solos?
I'd call it a major letdown, for people that were excited to see it.
I think people wanted to see him get up there and shred like Vinnie used to shred.
Yeah.
And I guess the bottom line is one of two things. Either one, he can't shred like that anymore, and therefore didn't want to try to and not do it right. And or two, was so nervous and or uncomfortable about being on stage for the first time in over 20 years.
Yeah,
that's a good possibility too.
That could very well have been it. I mean, I and again, having worked with Vinnie for almost the better part of a year, he's an interesting personality to say the least.
Right.
So I wouldn't doubt it if it was, pure nervousness and worry that just kept him from doing the solos.
You know, and what we've learned about Vinnie Vincent over the years, and especially when we had him on the show, I think there's maybe a third possibility too, where, like he said that time back in the day when he was overseas and he was supposed to play with that band, and he just kind of mimicked it and didn't really do nothing. He told us that day that I wasn't getting paid what it's worth for me to play the guitar. You know, I wonder if he feels like, you know, if I tear it up and start ripping these solos right now, you know, maybe I should save it for something else, that Memphis thing or whatever. You know, I know it's a stretch, but devil's advocate, I mean, it's a possibility, I guess. I mean, he's been known to think that way.
And here's the thing, you know, as a musician myself, or someone who always fancied himself one, a guitar player, nevertheless, you play the guitar because you love to play it.
Right.
And you don't say, well, I play it because I get paid. That's not a true guitar player, I don't think.
Right.
But, you know, as far as Vinny's concerned, I wouldn't doubt it if that was in his head. The monetary aspect is foremost in his decision-making process.
But there wasn't him coming to you going, for another $2K, I'll play this.
No, I'm surprised by that, but no. I think he learned by about July or August we had a separate business endeavor that went awry. And I think at that point he realized I wasn't one to take much of his shit, pardon the expression. Right. I'm just not that kind of guy.
And then they ended up playing Cold Gin together, and I mean, honestly, he looked very lost on that song. I did text a little bit with John Regan, and he said, I want to make it clear we did not sound check that song, so there wasn't. He said that they had no time to rehearse that together. But like, where was that decision from? Was that just an on the spot decision to play that song?
That event had about 11 or 1,200 people in the audience, and I'd say half of them were from overseas. Mm-hmm. And they went berserk because none of them have ever had the opportunity to do all the meet and greets and such with Vinny as we Americans have had here in the States, because he hasn't done anything. So long story short, they were going berserk and cheering for him, and I think he fed off it. I think he enjoyed them cheering for him, and he looked at the guys and said, you want to do another song? And they kind of looked at each other and heard Cold Gin. He said, Cold Gin. And he just threw it out there. He was contracted to do 2 songs, but actually played a third on and again, I think that was from, you know, feeding off the fans. And look, it was contagious. I mean, people who were out there, they have no clue what the people who in business deal with the guy. They see him as Vinnie Vincent, the one member of KISS they've never met.
Right.
And that's what it was for them. And so I'm glad in that sense that as a KISS fan, I'm glad I was able to help other fans, you know, check that off the bucket list, if you will.
Right. Obviously, the next thing on his plate is these 2 shows in Memphis. Do you know anything about these concerts, or do you have any ideas on it?
To tell you the truth, the only thing I've heard that ticket sales are a little slower than normal, or slower than expected, I guess. Yeah. I also know that there is the New York, New Jersey KISS Expo the same days. Yes. Up here in the New York, New Jersey area. I'm actually working on the KISSmas party for that event as well. Oh, cool. But you know, so he's got some competition because, of course, if you haven't heard, Ace Frehley is going to be there performing his 78 solo album.
That's awesome. Oh, yeah. I love that
in its entirety.
That was an exciting announcement. Cool. My takeaway from his performance at the pre-party thing, I thought it was cool to see him up there, cool to see him playing, and Pat did a great job on the solos, but I think it was a golden opportunity missed. One little run of shred notes would have sold a shit ton of these tickets, in my opinion.
It would have sure silenced a lot of doubt.
There's a lot of doubters out there saying he doesn't have it anymore, and this recent performance I don't think really helped his case any.
No.
But like you said, it could have been nerves or whatever. I just don't think he did himself any favors as far as these Memphis shows coming up. So
this circles back to me saying earlier he needs a professional manager. What someone would have done and said, Vinny, you're on stage. Everybody out there is going to have their cameras out, and it will be live and on the internet in 30 seconds or less. Yep. I would have, if it was me, as a promoter and a marketing guy, I would have had my own guy videoing it, ready to go. I would have shredded a couple of solos, and I'd have put that everywhere. And I'd have said, by the way, you can see the full show on December, blah, blah, blah.
Yep. Exactly.
My head goes right to marketing, and this is what he needs. He needs someone to come in and say, do this, 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 and that. Vinny, stop. Don't talk. Listen. And just do what I say, and you'll make money.
Yep.
if he had someone like me on his, like, I keep saying like me, I mean someone in my profession. I'm not interested in this position. But if someone was, they could probably make $500,000 for him next year. And that's a lot of money from a guy who was hiding out in the woods a year ago.
Right.
But here's something else to consider, too, where maybe it's a little bit of location choice, too. Because you figure, like Joe, for what you guys did with the Gathering down in Miami, well, hell, you guys are preaching to the converted.
Right.
With a K in that situation. But in Memphis, there's nothing else going on. There's no KISS-related expos or anything going on that weekend or anything that I'm aware of. So it's kind of just its standalone thing. That might have been kind of a mistake to put it there as opposed to, you got the big expo going on in Jersey, book a spot there, in town the weekend of that, the night of, or something
I think the thought behind it was because Vinny lives in Tennessee. He doesn't fly. So everywhere he goes, he has to drive. So that made it easy for him. I had thoughts of doing, New York events, and I had, believe me, there was all kinds of irons in the fire, and every one of them has been pulled out. But, my thought was having him come up and doing New Year's in New York. And we had a whole KISS weekend planned. I was talking to lots of other guests, same people that, might have been at the Long Island Expo or other KISS expos. We'd even talked to, bringing in another former guitarist from KISS. That didn't turn out, obviously, because we canceled the event. But point being is we're going to wrap the entire thing around a big event. And I don't think that he understands that, he's not the huge draw on his own as much as he is to KISS fans from being the guy from KISS.
Yeah.
Totally.
Not the Vinnie Vincent invasion. You know what I'm saying? The people that dig into him are people that were into him wearing the makeup. Sure. They're not into him, with the spiked wig and the pink guitar.
It's a select audience.
Right, yeah. Some of us are.
Exactly.
I like that stuff.
Look, let's be realistic here. Vinny became Vinny because he was in KISS.
Sure, yes.
So his solo stuff, the people that followed him most likely followed him from his evolution out of KISS.
Absolutely.
And that's what it is. I mean, you do these KISS expos, and Vinny would be there. If you do like I did, we had the KISS Cruise Preparty. Vinny's a good addition.
Sure.
If I just did something in Miami with him on any other day, I probably would have lost my shirt.
Right.
Look, I'm gonna be honest with everybody that's listening. Karma is a bitch, so I don't wish bad on anyone. I hope everything goes well. I hope Memphis is a blast and everybody who goes there gets to see him shred. I hope that everybody who came to the Gathering got everything that they expected and more and had a wonderful time and will remember it for as long as they, live on this rock. Yeah. But karma is a bitch, and it always has a way of coming back and biting those who treat people wrong. So I look at it like this. I did everything I needed to do to make sure that everybody had a good time. My karma is intact. But Chris, I'm looking forward to getting involved a little bit with the Rock and Pod and helping out a little bit there too. Hopefully I'm able to bring something to the table that makes my involvement worthwhile.
Oh, I'm incredibly excited to work with you on it because with your background and history of doing it, I mean, I'm only going into my third year, so I'm going to look at you as my Yoda for the next year because I need the mentorship. Believe me. Well, Joe, it's been a lot of fun having you on. Thanks for coming on and sharing the story of this. It's interesting to hear the behind the scenes on it.
Oh, thanks for having me, guys. Hopefully we get to do this again. And, as we get more stuff going on about the KISS Cruise Pre-Party, I'll keep you guys posted.
All right, so there you have it. That was a pretty interesting talk with Joe.
Yeah, very eye-opening and interesting to hear about how things went start to finish in Miami with Vinny's appearance down there. And then we wrapped it up with our talks at the time of what our expectations or what our thoughts are, what's going to happen in Memphis.
Expectations are low.
Well, then things...
Well, now they're zero.
Yeah, and then a few days later, things completely changed. And should I just read the announcement?
Yeah, go ahead and read it. I mean, we'll consider this all one big thing because it kind of goes together.
So
what have you established so far? Vinnie Vincent showed up at the Gathering thing, got on stage, and didn't play for shit.
Yeah, no solos. And
barely any guitar playing.
Kind of looked lost. And which I'll get to my thoughts on that in a minute. I'm going to be a little less diplomatic than I was during our talk with Joe, just because of the recent developments. So
because this puts a whole new twist to it.
So here's the announcement. Came out November 15th at 11:47 a.m. from the Vinnie Vincent Live Facebook page, titled "December Dates Postponed to February 2019." All-star band announced, including Carmine Appice and Tony Franklin. The Vinnie Vincent dates in Memphis on December 7th and 8th have been postponed until February 8th and 9th in Nashville due to additional scheduling and logistical requirements by the promoter. Promoter Derek Christopher announced Vinnie is ready to rock and roll and is disappointed by the postponement, but we needed extra time to add and confirm additional guests for the show. We wanted to make sure it's done right. With the announcement of the new dates, it was also announced we were pleased to announce that Vinnie will have an all-star band in February that will include Carmine Appice on drums and Tony Franklin on bass. Basically, Blue Murder without John Sykes.
Yeah.
More special guests will be announced soon. Tickets for the December 7th show will be honored on the February 8th date, and for the December 8th show will be honored on the February 9th date. To exchange your tickets for the rescheduled dates or to request a refund, go to VinnieVincentLive.com or and visit the website's FAQ page for more info. Okay, first off, fuck this guy. I'm sorry, but actually I'm not sorry. This is inexcusable, and I know this is written up to make it look like this is purely on the promoter, who is Derek Christopher, who we all remember from the Atlanta Expo,
right?
Who I will first give credit to for bringing Vinnie out of the shadows, although maybe that wasn't a good move. And secondly, you could announce that you're resurrecting John Bonham and Jimi Hendrix for this damn thing in February. It doesn't excuse moving a damn show weeks before it's supposed to happen, 2.5 weeks before it's supposed to happen, and screwing people out of hotel and airfare money that they paid money for.
Yeah, so let me ask you this, because I know you know people,
a number of people,
that were going to do this from different parts of the country, planning on flying in, getting hotel, all that. So when something like this happens, can you just go to your hotel and be like, hey, the show that I was going to go to canceled and I need my money back? Can you just go to the airline and be like, I'm not going to need this flight, so can I get all my money back?
I think in certain situations you might be able to get a refund on your hotel room, but from what I know, and I'm not an expert, this is all subjective, flights are usually not refundable. And a lot of these people I've talked to that are personal friends of mine, they're like, no, I'm out hundreds of dollars because of this.
Damn.
And that's bad enough, but then also some of these people, they can't make the Nashville show in February.
Right.
So what the hell are you thinking? If you want to do a show in Nashville in February
why not do one in Memphis and then also do one in Nashville?
Honor the damn thing that you agreed to do at Graceland and do the damn show for the people that paid money for that. Right. That is not fair to them, and there's no fucking excuse for it. I don't care if you need extra time for logistics or whatever. If you're a professional promoter, you should know better than that.
Right.
Could you imagine if Rockin' Pod was 2 weeks away and I said, no, we're going to move it 4 months down the road? How well do you think that would have gone over?
That would have been terrible, because all the different podcasts and people that planned from coming from all over North America would have been totally screwed.
Yeah. So,
because now they're having to go back to their jobs and say, hey, I guess I don't need these days off, but now I need these days off. Maybe you planned on that date and set something else aside for it or whatever.
There's people that were coming from out of the country for this, and now they're screwed.
Wow.
You know how hard it is to book international travel and then have to reschedule your life around it? People work jobs. They have responsibilities, and to make them up and change everything 2.5 weeks before the show was supposed to take place? No. This is on Vinnie and the promoter. Both of them, they deserve each other, in my opinion. This is unorganized bullshit. And, I'm tired of being diplomatic on this. And Vinnie has...
Clearly.
He's done nothing to instill any confidence in anybody.
Absolutely not.
Showing up in Miami and like everybody's like, oh, we'll give him credit for getting up on stage and holding a guitar. I'm sorry, bullshit. People paid money to see you play 2 songs that you were contracted to play, and you show up and you can and everyone can tell that you didn't do any preparation for this show at all. You showed up and you just wanted to collect your paycheck and do the bare minimum. I'm sorry, that may be good enough for some people, but I don't think so. I think that's incredibly unprofessional, and I think that this is all showing that all this guy cares about is money. He hasn't cared about music in a long time.
No, because, musicians that care about music, they can't help but play. They can't help but try to create something. When you're doing it just for the money, then you're not playing because of the joy of playing, because you'd continue to play all along.
Right.
So that tells you that you're doing it for the money because, I mean, you're not even willing to practice?
Yeah, I mean,
even if it is for the money, I mean, do you still feel the value of being able to deliver the goods? Can't even play the solo to I Love It Loud? Really? But you're going to do 2 full shred shows in Nashville in February? Give me a break. And what's going to happen when Carmen and Tony show up, and these guys are quality,
they're amazing,
high quality musicians, and they're going to show up, and you're going to be in the role of John Sykes? I don't think so. And then also on the poster, they put Tony and Carmine's picture up there, and then in tiny, tiny print, special guest Robert Fleischman. What is that about? Yeah, shouldn't Robert Fleischman be a top bill too? He was initially. But now he's like being minimized. I don't get and I know some of you Vinnie fans that will worship no matter what he does. Oh, well, see, now Chris is being exposed as the hater he always was. No, I don't think so. My eyes have been opened. Yeah. Listen, after all I've heard from people that have had to work with this guy, not just myself, but not just Joe. Not just Joe. I've heard from so many people that have worked behind the scenes with this guy. He may be great to the fans in person, and I don't take that away from him. He's great at these signings. He signs your stuff. He tells stories. He's charming. Yeah. He was to us in Atlanta. But to do the behind-the-scenes stuff, you're seeing the real person for what they are. And there may be issues. There may be stuff going on that, that make him different than a normal person, but there's no excuse for basically conning people and ripping them off, or putting people that are trying to put you in the best light through hell in the months leading up to an event. Right. I can't tell you how relieved I am that I didn't decide to work with him. And it's a damn shame because it all could have been so good, all along. Like I said, with the Gathering thing, all it would have took was Vinnie Vincent to step out front and just wail. Just do a little bit of wailing on that guitar. Show that you could still do what you claim that you can do. Yep. Be what you're known for being. If you're still holding on to it and you can't play, just come forward and be like, look, guys, I love the love that you're giving me, and I feel like I'm stringing you along because I feel like you might turn on me if I can't play. But, man, if you've learned anything from this, your fans are crazy. They're crazy about you, and they will love you no matter what. So if it's a fact that you can't play, come clean, man. Just come clean and be out front about it, and everyone will understand and have more respect for you at the end of the day than if you drag them along, bilk them into doing this concert for a second time now. Not just the Memphis one, but now the one upcoming in Nashville. If you screw over the people in Nashville, just like you may have screwed over the people that were planning on seeing you in Memphis, it's over, man. There's nowhere to go from there. I don't know how anyone has any confidence in this going forward. You can't have confidence in it. Confidence is the least thing anybody's got. And, of course, as I got to state, this is all our opinion, of course, but because I don't know all the facts. But I can just tell you from my perspective, this feels like a giant work. And I don't gone awry. Yeah. I mean, if it's a work, that's what I was trying to say with Joe, too, a little bit, trying to play devil's advocate, just kind of looking at it at the point of view as, is this a work? Can he play? Is he waiting to unload it on everybody at the last minute to throw it in everybody's faces? If this is a work, it's gone awry. It's not gone the way that you planned it, if that's the way it is. Moving this show just weeks before it's supposed to take place, all this does is embolden everyone who's like, see, you can't trust him. Right. And I'm the guy who always wanted to believe that it could actually work. Just like the thing in the Gathering emboldened everyone that said that he couldn't play. Right. All he's doing is proving the haters right. Yeah. And, like I know some people are going to be listening going, well, why is Chris so mad about it? It's not like he's going to go see them. You're right. I wouldn't cross the street to see this guy live. Right. I know you wouldn't. But that's besides the point. I'm talking to the person, moving this show. These are the last people you have left that still believe in you. Right. Because you got to know that if people saw, say 2 fans, 2 in particular that I got in my mind that I'm not going to mention, but you know who I'm talking about. Do. 2 of the biggest Vinnie Vincent fans we know. Bought tickets for Memphis, both traveling long distances to get there. Both are dealing with the hassle now of hopefully being able to get their airfare and their hotel money back. Probably not, but hoping. Still got to deal with that hassle. Yeah. Now, how do they feel? When they saw you on stage in Florida and not playing, how did that make them feel? The 2 biggest Vinnie Vincent fans that I know. The two that are holding on despite all the pink flags popping up all over the place, they're still standing with you, still believing you, still bought tickets to that show, still got the airfare, still got the hotel. Bam, it's over for them. Now, like I said, dealing with the hassle of trying to get your money back, also dealing with the feeling of being majorly let down.
Totally.
Clearly, this was something they were very, very much looking forward to. These people have been waiting to see Vinnie Vincent shred for how many years now? At least 20?
Right.
That's a long time.
And let me say this.
To get to keep snatching it away. Every expectation you lay down, every promise that you're making to your fans, you're snatching it away. How many more times do you think you're going to be able to do this?
Not many.
And who's going to be left?
Well, and that's part of my issue is, like, you know, the thing hit Derek's the promoter of this. I know a number of people, well, us included, we were supposed to get a number of things in our VIP package when we did the meet and greet. We never got any of that stuff. There's a bunch of people that never got their stuff. And then, like, but then to sign back on with this guy, and I'm not going to make this only about Derek. I think these guys are two peas in a pod. It's just, you can give me all the excuses in the world. They're not good enough to cancel this thing 2.5 weeks before it's supposed to take place.
No.
You know, contract or not, a man is only as good as his word. And right now, your word is nothing.
Nothing.
I mean, it's really sad. And I'm angry for the people that got screwed on this.
Big time, because they're friends of ours.
Yeah.
We don't like
cool.
it.
It's like, if you're going to have issues and be a mess as a human, that's fine. But don't tear other people down in the process. And there's just a trail of damage left behind. And, you know, then some people are like, well, Vinny hasn't said anything. It's all been the promoter that said that it was all his call for this. I'm sorry, but Vinnie Vincent's going to do what he wants to do. Nobody's going to postpone a show without his say-so.
Right.
In my opinion. But come on. I mean, I know enough to know that anyone that works with him, he's the guy calling the shots.
For sure.
I know that much. But this is, I can't, I mean, I don't, and I take no joy in this. Like, I know some people think I should be laughing because of this. I'm not.
No, it really feels bad.
Makes me mad.
Because we were supporters, and it took us the hard way to find out. And now we feel bad because we're seeing other people having to go through the hard way to find out, just like people were sad for us when they went through it and seen us go through it too.
I feel sorry. I mean, you know, we are giving a spotlight to it again, but it's just like, I feel bad for giving this guy any press at all over the years, honestly.
Well, maybe this one here is just trying to help people out, trying to save them from the same experience we've had, save people from the same experience that so many people have had, and save people from getting screwed on their hotel and airfare and their plans and their time.
Well, I'll say this. I'm not going to tell you what to do or not to do with your money. If you want to go see him in February in Nashville, feel free. But all I'm going to say is buyer beware.
Yeah.
Because from what I've seen, it looks like history's repeating itself. I don't know how you can take it any other way.
Well, I'll tell you this. At least you got a little consolation if the Nashville show gets canceled also and you're already in town. You can come hang out with us.
Yeah, we'll be around. We're not going to be at the show.
We're not going to be at the show, but we'll be around. So if that gets canceled too, we'll be your backup date.
I am looking at a fake mustache. No, I'm just kidding. I won't be there. Trust me.
A fake onk.
Yeah, a fake onk. Yeah, well, I don't know. Gene and Paul come after me too. But no, I don't. You know, I'm done being diplomatic about this guy. I hate that it's come to this, but so be it. You know, this is inexcusable. You don't do this. Do the Memphis show and honor your commitment, and then do a Nashville show. But don't move it like this.
No, don't. Yeah. Screwing over the last of your fans, man.
It's not cool at all, and that's pretty much all I got to say on it.
If I knew